Oh, let's test this thing out. If anyone's here, say hello if you can hear me. Hey, Eddie. I I got started a little early today because I wanted to test things out and see how everything sounded. Um, I've got I have until 4:30 before uh, a flying rolling pin comes in and lowers a boom on me. So I I thought I'll get started a little early here. Um, so Eddie, tell me what is your Grail watch? Hi, is that let's see, we say howdy here. Howdy. You're not from what part of the country are you from? We say howdy. Anyway, Texas. Okay. We were just down there visiting relatives recently. Uh, uh, Houston. I got my Patek Philippe from a guy in Houston. Grails is any Patek, okay, perpetual calendar chronograph. All right, that's what I wanna do today. I just wanna, sort of get heal just oh, hi, Clyde. How you doing? I'm starting a little early in case, something gets all mixed up. What I hope to do is, to work this so that Clyde and some other people could. Oh, good grief! No, the discussion today is Grail watches, Clyde. not, not a not a quote from the paper hanger. Yeah, howdy. That's what mine does too. Oh, good. You went. Good. I had a dentist named Doctor Saba, and his his license plate was Sabertooth. Hi, Don. It is Don, right? How you doing, Finchy? Yeah, Finchy. Grail watches are fluid. I think I had 3 different ones today, so I know about that. Trying to think, the 3 I had today was a regulator by A. Longa, the Dufour duality, and the Lang and Hana. Any one of those I like. Yeah, that's a good heels just. That's what becomes attainable and not attainable. My first Grail watch I actually got, and I thought it was unobtainable, but I worked out a way to get it, and I got it during the height of the Asian crisis, and the prices had dropped significantly, and I picked it up. Really, I got it out of Joma's shop and saved about 10,000 on that. So, what I would like to do is simply a Grail watch. Is that of all of the watches that you know about, which one would you like to, I mean, this would be worth saving for and really having. So, what are some ideas? Some more ideas you have? A Creedor. Okay, all right. Grand Complication. There are a lot of people who have Patek Philippe as a Grail watch. I have one and I'll call it sort of a Grail watch, and it's very much in range, in viable range. But what happens whenever I start looking at it, I see something else. Langa One, Clyde is another one I like. Uh, there's Those are both good. Moser Pioneer, those are very cool. I love those. In fact, this Moser I like a lot. Today I was looking at a Ferrier, Laurent Ferrier, And I was very surprised to see that he had the same kind of leaf hands that they have on the H. Mosers. By the way, um, I got a band for my this is a NATO band that I got for my uh, uh, Parmigiani hemispheres. What happened was that you talk boy, this talk about critics. Nobody liked the black and green one, and this one right here, the navy blue and red one, didn't quite go with the black, and so I really got harassed into getting a black and red one, and I'm glad I did. I like it. Okay. Um, what is the fascination with a large date window? For me, what I like about it is I can see it. that's 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 a big thing with me. Here, um, it's not so much of a fascination, but it's nice to see the day before and the tomorrow. I don't know why, but I like that. Um, it wasn't red, white, and blue like another guy's strap for a brigade. Well, red, white, and blue could look good on certain color combinations. Um, yeah, easy to read. That's Howdy's. I like that. A Perion strap. Don, I haven't. One of the problems I had that was really interesting, there were a number of neat straps that were recommended, and I went and they didn't have them in 24 millimeters. This has got pretty wide lugs on this guy, and I found one I liked. I thought, oh, this is perfect. And then I saw that it didn't come in 24 millimeter. 22 was the largest that they had. Okay, short term Geo 60s green is yes. Heels just, right? Is that it? Yes, I like the Geo 60s. In fact, I think I put up a I got Healer 74 has one and I put it up on a Facebook page. Hi Kovacs. AC3 tricolor special. What is that? I'm not sure. The AC3, not sure what that is. Yeah, Geo 70 squares are very cool. I like those too. More about marine chronometer. Um, okay, I can't today because I'd have to. Now you're talking about, is that the Breguet marine chronometer, or is it another one that I don't know anything about? Oh, it's yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't have a Breguet, and the marine chronometers in general, I like. The governor is governor. Okay, hi Dan. Now, um, uh, please, let's. We're all going to be nice today, right? I hope. Um, okay, JLC, and not the reverso, not into reversos. Now, not necessarily for a Grail watch, but a fantastic entry level JLC that I like is the oh boy, what is it? The model control something control that I like. There's also some world timers that JLC has that are very nice. Yeah, Vanderclaw. I like Vanderclaw. I know what you mean by that. You know, the thing is, I had a Audemars Piguet world timer, not world timer, but moon phase, and watching a moon phase. I mean, that's as exciting as watching the paint dry on something. I had to have a moon phase, and I ended up trading it in on my first Grail watch, which was the Vacheron Constantin Historiques Americain 1921. Marine chronometers. Okay, okay, I will. One of the interesting marine chronometers is from El Leroy. Now, I don't know if, or now they call themselves Leroy. They're pretty soon they're going to be called Gone. they, they were such a strong El Leroy and Leroy. They had the most complicated watch from I think it was like 1900 to 1989 when it was replaced by Patek Philippe's, which was then replaced by Vacheron's complicated watch. I got in trouble at a show. I I I think I either touched or photographed a Vacheron Constantine, the most complicated, and they didn't like that. So I, I didn't get thrown out. Um, what is a waxing gobos, Finchy? Ah, moon phase. Ah, okay, gotcha. Bring the rancher on the live show. Who's the rancher? There are a lot of people I don't know. Okay, well, let's go back to Grail watches. Um, oh, Clyde, yes, definitely. We had one we did together. I'd like to do one on this channel with Clyde also. The Rancher, huh? Is that what you go by? They got yeah, you got you can come as all hat and no cattle, and I'll come as all beret and no croissants. How's that? Okay, the topic, Art G. We're trying to get back to the topic. Um, let's uh, uh, let's talk more about Grail watches. What are some other ones? Now we've had Patek Philippe. I think we had a uh, Glashütte original. One of those, the '60s, I think, was one. What are some other ones? Oh, also the marine chronometers. Okay. Howdy. Okay, how bad would it be to get a Grail only to have the company go out of business and lose the founder? Peter Speak Marin. You know, there was a Grail that I could have picked up for a song. It had been like 30, $40,000, and it ended up selling for a couple thousand on one of the auctions, and it kept going down in price. And it was one of the from the early 2000s, 2001. It was the winner of the men's watch that was it was an El Leroy, and it was really a nice one. And one of the guys, some of you may know, picked it up. I'm trying to remember who it was, but he got it for a very low price. So, anyway, that can happen. Now, to me, is that if you get it on the way down in price, that's great. I'm not much of a flipper, and so I don't pay attention to the resale value. And so if something, something's no longer available, I'm okay with that. One of my favorite watches is a Beauvais from the 1940s that has a mono rattrapant. I think that's the coolest watch, and I have no plans on selling it or swapping it. So let's go. Let's go back to some more ideas on Grail watches. Chronomet Contemporain. What is Ant G? What is the Chronomet Contemporain? Um, I know, yeah, a lot of collectors don flip a lot. I just I don't. It was I I've done some of it, but it wasn't more flipping. It was more like wanting something else, and the only way I could get it was to trade in one of my watches. That's probably the dumbest thing to do, is use a watch as a trade-in because boy, they'll take you to the cleaners on those. Hi, Pedro. Um, okay. All right. Okay, let's Clyde. Uh, let's see if we can get some more ideas on flippers. Not flippers. Good grief! And now you got me thinking wrong. On Grail watches. Oh, 1815 Rada Pound. Yes, that is a nice watch. Now is let's see, 1815. Would that be a longa? There's one. Um, okay, define a Grail watch. Define it differently. Kovacs. You're absolutely right. And that's another thing I like to find out is that since people define a Grail watch differently, what are some definitions? How would you define it? To me, is that a Grail watch is a watch I really, 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 really want, and that's about it. And it's usually I really, really, really can't afford it. Um, so yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. What is okay, a Hoyer Monaco with a Salida movement. Well, Clyde, you can't have one of those. That's just sort of out of your orbit, I'm afraid. So we'll have to move along. Choose to lose one hand and wear an. Okay, you don't like Invicta, Alex. I get it. um, Yeah, and that's a point. Something that's unobtainable is as a grail. Um, to me, is that there's hope springs eternal. Um, Inkheart, Grail watches doesn't exist because the search for a Grail never ends. You've been watching Indiana Jones too long. A Grail watch is simply a shibboleth. It simply means one that that you aspire to. It's not a real Grail. It was just sort of like I said. It's a shibboleth. Um, Indian, yeah, Indiana Jones is what I was thinking. Okay, cup of. All right, he chose poorly. Um, All right. Uh, Let me tell you another kind of thing. I sort of like in terms of a series of grails. One of the aspects of the series of watches is something I don't have in terms of a function. Today, I was looking at a lot of regulators. I didn't even know what a regulator was a month ago, and now I've been all over them because I think they're really cool. Um, a rattrapant would be another one. A Remontois Egalite. That's another one I want. By the way, one of my other Grail watches is an FP Journe. It's called Chronomet Optimum, which has the Remontois Egalite. I think those are really cool. And in fact, any watch with that, with something like that, I think I saw one that I believe it was Furrier had one I was looking at today. Um, so anyhow, Rolex, Hunk, and Batman were my grails a couple years back. Don, that's another thing. You don't have to. A Grail watch doesn't have to be, crazy expensive like some of the ones we've been talking about. And I think that I've always liked the Rolex. I like the Hulk, and I like the both the Batman and the Coke or Pepsi or whatever they call it. Those are a couple watches I really like. I ended up getting something else, but Those are certainly within a lot of people's, realm, and FP Journe watches are out of reach for most collectors. They are modern quintessential Grail watches. Kovacs, yeah, that's true. They're probably, though, oh boy, and this is, aside from the quartz watches. The quartz watches that they have available are, you can probably find those around 10,000. Now, 10,000 isn't peanuts, but people, "Well, what would you ever get a quartz for?" Well, a quartz by FP Journe is really an amazing watch. I have seen some of the, sports watches, the aluminum, what are they called? The, whatever, I forgot the name of their sports watches, because 'cause I've never really been interested in them. That's another, grill watch. Um, what is a Resonance Type 1 or 2? I'm not sure, Finchy. What is that? Ah, pre-ceramic. Yeah, you, Centergraph. Yes, howdy. Centergraph. Oh, yeah, the FP joint Centergraph. That thing is amazing. That is a very nice watch. I know a guy who has one. They're really something. Um, okay. What would a Grail watch be something that would you'd wear every day? Um, to me, every watch should be worn all the time. This watch right here, my Beauvais, was a Grail watch for a while, and I got it. I unexpectedly I got it very quickly, right after it became a Grail watch. So it was like, I don't know if that counts as a Grail watch because I didn't suffer and hold my breath for it. Um, anyway, um, yeah, I think, Clyde, that's a good point. It was, the last one you, look for. I guess to some extent it is. It depends. Like, I think, someone brought up, a Grail watch as something like the Holy Grail. It's unobtainable. I think what it is that it's something that's always at the back of your mind that, uh, to me, watch collection at some point becomes something that you're continuously scanning. I once, compared it to being a vulture. A good collector is a good vulture. The old vulture is up there looking around for something that has dropped really quickly. Every now and then you luck into one. I ended up with this, Vacheron Constantin, 1972, in just primo shape. And I think what happened was that, somebody inherited and, didn't know what to do with it, and they sold it to a pawn shop, and there it was. And uh, I bought it from him after some serious negotiation. But that watch has been perfect, and I love that watch. Um, so you never know. I mean, that's why I'm saying it's sort of like a you're always scanning, and I think that, I mean, like, if you walked into a store, let's say you walked into a pawn shop, and I saw a Dufour, Simplicity or Duality, something like that, and and the guy selling it, paid the owner, $10, something like that. And, so, that can happen. I know some people have gotten some really good watches, and that's why I'm saying is that a Grail watch, sure, you can't afford it, uh, a good possibility of that, but, it's always something you're looking for. Would I trade my entire collection for a Grail? Man, For duality, I probably would, and then start all over again. That would be about the only one I could think of. Um, I like my watches pretty much, but man, one of those. And again, mm, okay, Hassan, I'm thinking about buying my first Rolex, and I fell in love with the Explorer One. Huh. I like the Explorer too. That was one of the. I like the Explorer GMT. I really like that a lot. And I ended up getting a Zenith Elite GMT because I saw some other watch and then bought it, and then it didn't have enough to buy the Explorer, so I ended up with the Zenith, which I got a great buy on. Um, okay, let's see what else we got here. How big is your wrist? 36 isn't too small unless you're huge, like Archie huge. Um, Herman, good price is $4,000. Herman, a good price for the Explorer One is 4,000. Is that right? Sure. On Christopher Ward, I managed to get a watch with their 5-day chronometer movement for 500 bucks on sale, or 500 quid. Um, I don't know that much about Christopher Ward. I know that Christopher Ward seems to me to be a watch company that is sort of going in the right direction, improving their product line, and I think they started making at least one of their movements. So that's and for 500 pounds, that sounds pretty good to me. But again, I don't know that much about Christopher Ward. There's certain watches that I don't pay attention to, not because they're not good watches or not because they're not good buys, but rather because I'm looking at something else. I don't know if you've ever, Homer Simpson, something bright and shiny comes up here, and that's unfortunately what I do a lot. Um, $2,200 for a 2 month old Tudor Heritage Black Bay ETA. Is that a good deal? Alex, boy, Heritage Black Bay. That was probably the first Tudor that won, I think, the Petite Aiguille, or won the sports watch in the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie. So it's sort of an interesting watch. I like watches that have been judged by the Grand Prix because to me, they're probably, these guys know more than I do with a lot of other people. And yeah, there's politics and so forth, but I depend on the Grand Prix a lot. Okay, Herman Ingram, German or better? Um, compare Swiss and German watches. Well, um, depends which Swiss watches and which German watches. There's a lot of overlap because a lot of big hunk of Switzerland is German. I think that H. Moser, for example, is in a very German part of Switzerland. Staffelbossen. I'm terrible again with languages. Okay, um, Bauhaus. Um, some Bauhaus I like. I like Nomos in general. Um, A Longa is elegant but more simple compared to Swiss. Now, I don't know if it's. I think you have more kinds of styles. One of the things that the Germans seem to like to do is that they put a lot of engraving around aspects of their movements. It's really funny. You have this Bauhaus face, and in the back you have this Rococo and all of this other kind of. It looks like it's something out of I don't know what period in history was the most using all of the different swirls and so forth. Um, JLC Master Control, that was what I was trying to think of, a perpetual Doctor Strange one. Yeah, the JLC Master Control perpetual, calendar's a really neat, watch. Another a grailish type of watch, I think, is another perpetual calendar that is very cool, is the H. Moser. And the reason for it is you can move it back and forth. I mean, it's really cool. It's not, I don't know if it's a perpetual calendar or an annual calendar. It's one of those two. But that's another one I like. That's another kind of thing I don't have. I don't have a either an annual or perpetual calendar. Be interesting for one of those too. Um, Clive, come on now. Be careful here. Next, you'll start belting out the words to the Horse Whistle song. Okay. Any recommendations for a complete calendar in the 5K range? Now that's a good question, though. I don't have a complete calendar watch. Um, this is it's got a calendar on it, but it's really a more of a travel watch, I think, the Hemisphere's idea is. Um, Anybody have any suggestions on the calendar? I have, like, I don't know, a very few even with the date on it. I don't in fact, I don't even have one that has a day date. So that's another thing I might wanna look at too. Grand Seiko. Um, my thoughts on Grand Seiko? Grand Seiko is really they make beautiful watches and really amazing movements. One of the things that is sort of a funny thing I ran into, you take the high beat and you got this watch that's super accurate. I've got a 4 hertz harboring too, and that thing is super accurate too. It's not quite as pretty as a um, not quite as pretty as your Grand Seiko. Uh, but I've seen some, they are gorgeous watches and they have very good movements in them. So that's my thoughts on Grand Seikos. The spring drive semi electric nature. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I'm glad you brought that up, Kovacs. The Our hobby collecting mechanical watches is sort of a funny thing. I mean, like start putting some cool stuff in there, even if you're a Pigeon, and people say, "Well, wait a minute, that's you're using quartz. That's not that's really not a true mechanical watch," and it's not. And so when they start putting electrical stuff in, um, this can be solar, it can be any number of things that are used, but um, yeah, I sort of and the same thing is true with silicon. I know that a lot of Rolexes have silicon balance wheels and also hairsprings. And on the other hand, you have like another company that makes their own hairsprings, is H. Moser, and they decided not to do that for two reasons. One, I think the tradition, they used, I think, a combination of Nibian and titanium on their hairsprings, which were both non-magnetic. I don't think anti-magnetic is the right term for it. Um, there are mechanical quartz watches. Yeah, there are. There's one I know that the rotor from the auto like on an automatic, the rotor goes around, but instead of keeping the watch wound, instead of winding the spring, it it, drives the electrical power. So yeah, but I don't like. I mean, I don't dislike them. I'm just not interested in them. There's a big difference between disliking a certain kind of watch and just not being interested in it. And in my case, there are a lot of neat watches out there that have some kind of gizmo in it that, for whatever reason, doesn't interest me too much. This is what like Remontois d'Égalité. I mean, I think you can find those in the original. Abraham Breguet was probably did something with them, and now that's interesting to me. Tourbillon, I never warmed up to tourbillons because I think they cost a fortune, and I don't know if they really do the job. I understand there's some newer versions of the tourbillon, and so. eh, Hi, Kibble, how you doing? Uh, uh, Good to see you here. Okay, Vacheron Hours of the World versus Patek Philippe or Universe. Mm, good question, Hassan. Hours of the World. I don't know either one of them that well. I didn't pay that much attention to them. Friend of mine got me looking at the Louis Vuitton world time zone, and it's a complication. It's a gestalt of the whole thing. I ended up getting that for my world timer, and then I saw this hemispheres, and I just that was the other one. So my wife ended up with the Louis Vuitton, and I ended up with the Parmigiani hemispheres. I love my hemispheres. The band problem is solved, so I think I'm okay now. Otherwise, it has a black band. One other thing about um, the Parmigiani, this particular model with the deployant. It's got one of the not one of the best, but the best deployant buckles I've ever had, and that Louis Vuitton has one of the worst. So that's that's what I think. Um, okay, let's see. Basically, early stages of watch dealings. So as much as I can get on my desk into the store as possible. Oh, hi. Hey, well, Kibble, you become a watch dealer. Okay, under 100 quid. Well, that's a big audience. Sin 104 tutors, Omegas. That's cool. Um, Tourbillon is French for sucker's watch. Herman, that's I love that. I hate to say that because I mean I know people with tourbillons and I respect it. And one of the things about a tourbillon, a friend of mine, programmer, won an award for the best time wasting program he wrote. He wrote a program that people just spent time with, playing with, and wasted time. It was funny. And to me, a tourbillon is like a great time waster because you could stare at a tourbillon for hours and just, oh, look at that. um, I suppose that's a bit of a cynical view of tourbillons. Um, okay, let's see what else we got going here. Captain Zed, how you doing? Who works too much, but it's okay. Thanks for asking. Um, okay. I hope everything's good with whoever Ginny is. Uh, Enrique, how's it going? Um, about movements and trying to understand how they work. So I started making a collection of watches, and I'm thinking of, oh, watch tools. Yeah. Listen, I can recommend if you want something and you're pretty good on your own. I can recommend the time zone course. It's like 70 bucks or so, and then you spend another, I don't know how much, couple $100 buying all of the parts and everything. You get a movement to play with, and then you could take it apart and then put it back together. And they have the recommendation for all the tools and how to use the tools. Really important. Um, I've got an upcoming video on watch tools, primarily for collectors, not for watchmaking. And Yeah, so, hey, Enrique and everybody else, if you really wanna learn about, movements, take a watchmaking course. Um, Ryan, Ryan Schmidt's book is pretty good on, some of the basic elements in a movement. Um, okay, TGV's new watch. No, I'm not touching that. Let's see what else. The most underrated watch on the market, Vulcan Golden Voice, the new one. I know Vulcan has their own movement. Um, they're they are their own. I That's about all I can say about it. I don't know if Vulcan has done anything really interesting with the movements, but they are their own movements. They're understand Baum and Mercier are falling into the bargain bin. You feel that is a true model you prefer. Uh, Baum and Mercier, they came out with one of the true in-house movement a little while back, and so I wouldn't be surprised if their older ones that have ETA movements are in the bargain bin. That's it's My son thought they were great. He bought a bunch of them before I could say, "What are you doing?" Um, it got a great history. It's a company with really a great history, but, a company's history, if they have a history, sometimes the somebody who really cares more about making a lot of money than carrying on the tradition is what you need to see. Well, look, guys, I see it's 4:33. I started a little early so I could get some in, and before the rolling pin comes flying through that door, I'm gonna have to scoot. Uh, Thank you all for coming, and if I can figure out how to do it, I'll get here with the rancher, Clyde, and we can do this together. Maybe we can do it again. We've already done it, I think, twice on Clyde's channel. And so, anyway, um, hasta la vista. Uh, See you guys on what's today? Tomorrow. Tomorrow, I have a new video out. See you then. Bye bye.